Okay, this is the second part of Sauntering in the Unseen World Session 1. And this is the Q&A part of it for Heal the Tree Fall. Just call me Noon. And the same disclaimer goes again. I don't give legal advice. I don't give medical advice. And this is for entertainment purposes only. So we're going to kick off the Q&A with whoever wants to ask the first question. And everybody goes quiet at this point. It's great. I love it. Please tell me somebody has a question.
So, Noon, what about dreaming? Is that the same thing?
Dreaming's part of the unseen world, yes. But it's not that it's sectioned off like a room, but it's more kind of like a flowing river, if you like. So it's a tributary that you go along. But it's not in a two-dimensional thing, it's a multi-dimensional thing. So when you dream, you're actually astral travel, what's termed as being astral traveling. And that is part of the unseen world. The unseen world is absolutely huge. It's vast. Have I explored every corner of it? Probably not. Definitely not in this lifetime. But the whole point is for you to start differentiating between what you're doing. And that comes from your intent 9 times out of 10. If you just willy-nilly go into it, you then spend a lot of your time trying to figure out where you are and where you've been. And that's not a bad thing to do to begin with, but you'll get bored with it. Because you'll go, oh, I just want to know. And the thing is, it's inside you to just know where you are. So when you go to sleep at night, predominantly you're astral traveling. So what people term as dreaming. Dreaming is actually where you have a wish or even a desire. Desire is not the best way of putting it, but really a wish or a want. And then you put that out into quantum. And that's when you get that coming back. If you don't get it coming back, it's because there's something even better for you. And you're just not thinking big enough. You're just not feeling big enough. And you're not feeling enough because you are enough. That's the key part to that. So that's what dreaming actually is.
So basically, you're not unconscious to go into the unseen world, in a sense, like unconscious in sleeping. I mean,
no, you don't have to be. You absolutely not. No, you can be completely aware of your surroundings. We literally just before we started recording again, we had the little story about I'm in Sarah, who's here, Sarah's somatics class, and I get it quite frequently where I'm, if you like, sauntering without me realizing it, and then I can come up really confused. So I know I'm in my cabin, I know I'm on the floor, but there all of a sudden I'm in the Midwest, and there's a saloon, and there's a barbers, and there's people walking around, and I can feel the grit and sand under my hands. So this is sauntering in the unseen world, and it was somebody else's past life that I had gone into flow. And I hadn't even realized that I'd done it. I was just thinking about that person, and it was like how that came about. I didn't know who it was related to entirely, but they were already in my sphere. And then you will get things coming through of people that you don't know or you haven't met yet. And you have to kind of put it to one side. And then when they crop up, it will click. And all of a sudden you go, oh, you're that one that this happened with, you know, and then you can then relay the story to them. If they're open to it. Obviously don't do it if they're not, because you'll get branded a nutter and everything else. But yeah, that's kind of how that works.
What about one more thing? What about something like deja vu as such?
Deja vu is, well, there are a number of different thoughts on deja vu. One is, you know, if you listen to the younger people, it's a glitch in the matrix. You know, that means that something's being changed. Now, there is, with Project Looking Glass and how they've been working with that, there is quite a big sort of lot of evidence to say that that can be deja vu, but deja vu had been happening long before Project Looking Glass came about. So our question was, well, what actually is it? And that's where you start to get into that time doesn't exist. So your deja vu is that everybody thinks time's a linear thing, and it's not. It's multidimensional as well, and it's everywhere and nowhere at the same time. So when you squash it all down and it's all in one space, then all of a sudden, what's deja vu? Well, you've already done it, but are you going to have a different outcome? That's the key part to it. You can determine what outcome you're going to have from it. You don't have to go down the same path every time. And 9 times out of 10, you're doing it deliberately to yourself so that you do take a different choice.
Okay, thanks.
With regards to, if you venture into that area, the negative attachments and bringing that back with you.
Yeah,
I can speak for that personally.
Yeah, you can do whenever you travel. This is one of the sort of warnings that we tend to give is when people are sauntering, or that's why I try to put it as sauntering rather than traveling, because traveling people think of point A to point B, whereas sauntering is
You tend to saunter, which is lovely. I tend to kind of right, here we are.
Yeah, I love sauntering, it's great, but I can actually go there and just be there. I don't necessarily need to, but that's still sauntering, because it's that I know that's my start point, if you like. So, but yeah, you can bring back attachments, which are called negative entities, and they can cause you a lot of havoc. And that's where a lot of people get scared about being in the unseen world. But to be really honest, those negative entities are around you in the seen world as well.
Yeah.
So what's the difference?
Yeah.
Actually learning how to deal with them, that's
what I was going to say is if it's unknown to you, or it can be quite freaky.
Yeah, and the easiest part about it is when you learn how to do things, which we'll go into different sessions, but it's just to fire it back, literally fire it back. I mean, I had one last Monday night, and I literally went outside, cleared myself off, and I went, no, I'm not having this. This is yours. Thanks very much. Bye-bye. Yeah. And I sent it back to them. They'll get it back 3 to 10 fold. Yeah. And that's their problem, not mine, because they sent it in the first place. It originated from them. Yeah, this is it. So, Benji, you've got your hand up.
Yes. So, I mean, simple question, ways of accessing the unseen world. I understand that it will be different for every individual. And, I understand that there are multiple ways as well, but can you outline some ways that either you or are known that people access the unseen world?
Right. So
safer ways, Benji, is that?
Sorry?
Safer ways to access.
Not necessarily safer, no, just
We'll stick with safer.
Definitely safer.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Rosie was actually saying this earlier about that meditation part of it. How she's finding that difficult. Is that pretty accurate, Rosie? Rosie doesn't realise she's changed her name.
Me, yeah.
That's you, yeah.
It's not. It's RC. It
wasn't me.
RC. Right. So RC was saying, sorry, Rosie. Yeah. RC was saying that she finds it difficult to meditate and things like that. But meditation isn't that thing of sitting down and saying it can be, and that's fine if you can do it that way. That's great, and it will be one way of doing it. But when you find out there are loads of different types of meditation and loads of different ways of doing it, you find one that suits you. So you'll find with what you do, because I know you're a musician, you'll find that in some space in music, you will find that all of a sudden you just go off inside yourself.
Yeah, he's already there.
That's it. That's the key to it. It's just that you just haven't learned how to direct it. And what the other things that you can see, you've purely used it for one thing. So when you expand that out, you'll then start seeing all these different things coming in as well. So it's the same question as, where do you get your inspiration for your songs? Where does that come from? Things can happen in the real world if you want, for the reality that's there. But that's not.
Could you explain that, Benji? If you've got an explanation for that, where does it come from? There we go.
Yeah, I mean, I think it comes from, I think when I truly get to a point of inspiration, it's coming from the ether. I think
somebody's giving you something.
Yeah, it feels like I'm accessing the field.
Yeah, one of the stories that we have is that it's fairy dust, and they hit everybody with inspiration. And some people will go, oh, that's a good idea, but never do anything about it. Other people, because it hits everybody, a number of different people across the world at the same time. Other people will go, oh yeah, and they'll start to try and do something with it, but then not get any further with it. And then you get some people who take it the whole way, and it becomes something beautiful. But with what you do, that could be somebody in China, it could be somebody in Outer Mongolia, it could be somebody in South Africa, who all get hit with the same inspiration, but you all translate it differently. So you'll end up with those 4 different songs, but they make people feel similarly, because the translation between the person that's listening to the person who's playing it is their own translation as well. So it's going through a number of kind of like filters, but not really. It's an expansion, which is a really good thing. RC, you were going to say something or ask something.
Yeah, just what you said earlier on. It's finding a way to kind of access it, but it's an individual thing, really. And it was quite interesting there what you said to Benji about his inspiration for music, and how somebody can get the same inspiration or fairy dust land on them in different parts and be interpreted differently, both by the producer of the music and the listener of the music. And I was wondering, since they changed the frequencies of music, would people in the past obviously be more susceptible to their feelings towards music composed then in the old frequencies as opposed to now?
Well, you can actually have those frequencies of music played to you and see how you feel, because everybody obviously picks it up differently. If you look at Sufi dancers, how the whirling dervishes, whenever they twirl, you listen to the music that's played to them, and it's a trance-like music. Now, even if you're not standing up and whirling around, you will get to the point, especially if you close your eyes and you take this distraction away, you very quickly get to the point of losing yourself in that music. And I love that bit when I can lose myself in something, whether it's music or otherwise. I think it's a great thing to do. But that's a form of meditation in its own right as well. And it's just another way of doing it. When you then learn to navigate that, because there's only you can learn how to navigate it for yourself, that's where you find the key lies to then looking at all the things that are in there. And some people choose to only look at past lives. Other people choose to look at only ancestors, or only what's in the future, or only what's in the galaxy, or the universe, or the cosmos, or all these different things.
Very rarely now.
Yeah, it is very rarely now. But it all converges because you are that 0 point. So the whole lot will come together because you're the one who is looking, and you're the one who's going to look at it. But the energy lines that I see hold a massive amount of information. And that's from not just where they were in, say, the past or the future, or even the present, but also what trauma they're going through, what highlights they had in their life, the good times as well as the bad times. It just so happens that everybody wants to know about the bad times, because they want to heal that. And I get that, I do get that. But sometimes it's just really nice to go into the good times, because that then is uplifting, and we then become uplifting for others, which is great. That's what we should do. So your meditation point for you, RC, is wherever you feel comfortable. And one of the things is, if you have got it in your head of, I can't meditate, you're already blocking yourself.
Okay.
You'll find that somebody else will have put that in your head. So are you going to let somebody else direct you, or are you going to do it for yourself? So when
if you're looking at that image, this image, that's probably not the best one for you. It's very, I don't know, dissuading, is that the word?
Yeah.
Find your own thing. It's no set in stone. It's however you relax, whatever space that is.
Yeah.
It could be standing doing the dishes and looking out the window and you're in some kind of trance. Yeah. That's meditation.
The other thing I was wondering is, when you do struggle with something, I keep thinking now about, like you just said, it was a block. And it's as though there's a distraction or a block to stop us because we're so powerful. Mm-hmm. And we're so, and it's like, this is in place to stop you discovering. So it makes me want to really breathe more and focus more, because it's easy to go off, isn't it?
Sometimes I'll welcome the block because it's not the right time to be going that distance.
Yeah, if you're driving your van at the time, Fraser, I know it's not the best time.
What's that, sorry?
If you're driving your van, it's probably not the best time to do that. Or if you're trying to concentrate on scientific figures, maybe
sending the NHS guys to jail.
Yes, yeah. But yeah, it's when Fraser's unusual, and you have to remember that Fraser is unusual, and he is unique in.
That's a compliment, I'm assuming.
It is a compliment, because.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Fraser is very much, if he sees a block, he sees it as a challenge, and he will then take it on. He does that, I'm going to take it on thing, right? And he will smash through it. He will get through it. Sarah, on the other side, there's
Sometimes to great detriment.
yeah, it can be. You've got you, and then when you realize there's a block, you go, okay, why is that block there? And then once you start to figure that out, you don't necessarily have to completely figure it out, but once you start to, you then go, that block doesn't need to be there, and then it leaves. And then you don't have that anymore, and then you do things like hooking up to source, which is what you asked for.
Yeah, well, Sarah's kind of like the feather in the minefield, whereas I'm the minefield on top of the feather sometimes.
Very much.
Sarah wonders.
But listening to the things you were saying, and I know I've heard you personally say some of the things before, but again, I was getting a little bit confused, and I was thinking, okay, and then you'd say something, and I'm like, oh yeah, there it is, that old chestnut of I've been doing stuff and not realizing I'm doing it, and yeah,
I mean,
thanks for that.
Yeah, a lot of people are kind of like, they like the Matrix analogy at the moment, and what I've said is, and it's really been highlighted, especially since sort of like end of December, of when someone blocks you, it's like that person in the street doing nothing that was normally a fairly good person, and then they turn into an agent and they become the block then, and then what they do is they affect all others around them. So as soon as we say something that's detrimental, we're blocking others as well as blocking ourselves. But it's where the block has come from, and that's indoctrination and dogma. That's really where it's come from. You don't need middlemen. You also don't need to follow. We said this in Heal the Tree Fall a number of times. Don't follow anyone. That's whether that's me or anybody else. Do not follow anyone, right? As soon as somebody says, I'm your leader, walk the other way.
They will not go there.
Yeah, because you don't need a leader. You're perfectly capable of working with each other. And when you find that you can't see a common ground or you can't understand one another, that's okay, that's fine. But you don't have to cause each other harm and loss in the process of doing that. The truth is a massive thing. What you're looking for is your truth, and your truth will constantly change. It's constantly in flux, the same as you are. You're always in flux, whereas what you've been told to do is to go and look for stability. I mean, remember Theresa May a few years back going on about we're strong and stable, we're strong and stable, we're strong and stable, and she was promising this strong and stable all the time. And our parents and our grandparents have tried to gear us up to be in that stable position, but nothing's stable. And you've got a key element that shows you that second to second, and that's how you breathe. As soon as you breathe in, you are changing everything in your body and everything in your toroidal field as well. So, and then when you have that pause in between the inhale to the exhale, it's changing again. And then when you have the exhale, it's changing again. And then there's a pause between the exhale to the inhale. So 4 times you're transforming yourself all the time. You're always in flux. So why look for the stability? It makes no sense.
Nothing will be neat and tidy. It's not designed to be neat and tidy. As you say, it's always in flux. It's always changing. Don't expect it to be 4 solid walls exactly square, and it's crazy.
And when you're in the unseen world, there can be things that can be very frightening. What you have to remember is that things will only affect you if you allow them to affect you. It always comes from your consent. So it's purely something by sauntering in the unseen world, you will not be harmed by anything from it unless you allow it in.
And the attention paid towards it, too much attention, then it is noticed by others in that kind of area.
Could you go in with your shield? Or would you
certainly pay attention to you if you show too much attention to them.
Yeah, Sarah, you definitely can. Whenever you do your protective shield, you can take that with you into the unseen world. And that's what makes you incredibly frightening to those who would do you harm. Because they literally, they find it so difficult to get through that because it comes from you. It is literally you doing it for yourself. So when you have that shield that you've created and you saunter in the unseen world, it's not to say that you can't be harmed, but whenever I've been harmed by it, I've come back and I've gone, okay, why? First question is why? Why did I let that in? I allowed it, so why did I let that in? What's it trying to uncover in me? And normally there's a whole heap of uncovering goes on. And then when I go back next time, it's like, no, we're not doing that again. I've done that bit. And then it bounces. It literally bounces that quickly off you. So you become incredibly powerful. And it's not powerful in an egotistical way. It's just simply that you are. And that's the power that you have. You simply are. And it's massive. It's absolutely massive. And there's no way I can describe it or explain it. I can't even do it in pictographs to show people what it's like. You have to feel it. When you do, there's a lot of people, Jim Carrey talks about it. And he says, you know, he had this one moment where it was literally a glimpse he got of it. And he's been trying to get back to there ever since. And that's what a lot of people do, is they try to get back there. It doesn't take any effort. It's not a thing. It comes into you. Just let it come. Let your ego slip and let it come, and it's there. The other thing that people do is they try to override it. So what they see is they go, no, I can't possibly see anything like that, or that's not right, or that doesn't exist, or, you know, all those different things. When you open to it, everything is possible. Absolutely everything is possible. And that's where our creative moxie, if you like, comes from. It is the fact that everything's possible. So what do you want to create? That's then the next key question. When you learn and you practice in the unseen world, then it's a case of what do you want to create? You know, and you can create anything you want. Absolutely.
So you can manifest what you actually want to see. Or like, say, for example, if you wanted to speak to people on the higher conscious level, the subconscious level, could you manifest that? And like they would connect to that as well or not?
Yeah, it's commonly termed ascended masters. So that's people like Buddha, Jesus, you know, oh God, who's the Chinese one? I can't remember his name. Confucius, right? You know, people like that. And Tao, that sort of thing. When you want to, you can hook up to them anytime because they're literally there all the time. All you're going to do is call on them and they're there for you because you are multidimensional and so are they. It's just that you are placing your attention on how you are now. And that's what's coming out. So when you go into the unseen world, and I mean, you can do it as like, okay, I take a boat and I go in a river and then I meet them by a rock, and that's fine. If you want to do it that way and you follow that energy line that way because it feels comfortable for you, do it that way. For me, it's that I see threads. It's like a whole tangled bunch of threads that go off in different directions. And I then know which one to follow to then find that. But that following is like that. It's so quick. You know, did it take me a long time whenever I was younger? Yeah, because I would enjoy the ride. I actually enjoyed just going along those energy flows. And it is nice. It's a lovely feeling. So you know where you are in it. So yeah, that's basically when you're talking about, and it doesn't have to be Jesus, Buddha, or whatever. There are other ascended masters who don't have a name because they left their names behind. You know, they didn't need them, so they didn't take them with them. So we don't know kind of who they are, but we do know what they feel like. So, and they can come to you in many different ways. But you also have it as people who, and I know you've got experience of this, Debbie, of people who have physically left this world. They become your ascended masters as well. Might not be in its entirety, but it can be for parts of things that you're going to have to deal with. And they can help you far more by being on the unseen world than they can being in the seen world. You know, and I know you've really got a big experience with that one just recently. So, which is a fabulous thing. Thank them for it. You know, thank them for it every day. You know, it's brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Any other questions, guys?
Going back to dreams.
Yeah.
You know, when they're really, really vivid dreams, but sometimes you know what you're saying about astral traveling, but sometimes when I wake up, I'm like, what on earth was I dreaming about that for? And then I think back to the day before and I'm like, oh yeah, I saw that in that day, or I had that experience, and then that carried over into the dream. So what's that?
Right, you're getting into a really complex bit, because if you relate it to something that's happened the day before, what it's showing you is what's called the coming together or the convergence of things. Now, if you just relate it to, oh, I heard that piece of music yesterday, that's why I saw or felt or heard whatever, then straight away you're actually distracting yourself from what's truly there. So it's a way of our ego brain translating. So as soon as that translation comes through, what I do is I go, okay, I know that bit's there. It's not to say that it's not there. It is, but it's actually you pre-sending things. You're present to yourself, pre-sent. So the presence of yourself then brings that in. And then what you have to do is go, right, okay, I know that I heard that piece of music yesterday. I know that it's related to that, but it's also related to other things. So what are the other things? And let that question go. Don't expect an answer straight away. It could come in 20 minutes. It could come in 2-3 days. It could come in a few weeks. But all of a sudden you'll sit there and go, oh, that's what it was. We're really, really stupid and thick when it comes to things like that, you know, because we want to think that we know everything and we don't. And
Have you ever tried to jump back into a dream?
Yeah, that was going to be my next thing. There's been times where I feel like I'm pressing pause. I get up, go to the toilet, come back, and I press play, and I carry on.
Yes, I've done that. But wake up kind of 3 o'clock in the morning. You're like, no, I've got something else to do in there. Let's go back. And you jump back in. You're like, why'd I come back here? Because sometimes it's terrifying in my head, anyway. You know, places I go when I dream are wild, man. You know,
it's going to be so fantastic whenever Fraser gets peace and calm in his dreams. It's going to be brilliant. Well, so not going to know what to do.
That's when you need to worry.
Well, it's not us that need to worry.
No, it's not.
Remember that. There's a reason for everything, you know.
Yeah.
So,
it's a battlefield when I go to sleep. It's good at the time.
It used to be for me. I got through a period where it was very much every time I fell asleep, it was constantly a battle.
Yeah.
And then I realized I'm creating that. It means that I want to be in that space. So why do I want to be in that space? And I wasn't happy in my own life. Now, it could be that there were certain elements of my life that I was really happy with, but other elements I wasn't. Yeah. And then you start to go, right, okay, so the whole, because everything relates to everything else. The unseen world isn't something outside of you. It's through you. It's in you. It's through everything that you do. You see,
it's just there.
It's there. Yeah, just within you and without you at the same time. And once I clocked the key to that one, I went, oh, hang on a minute. This is what's called peace and calm. Oh, wow. This is like really nice. Now,
it's gone.
Yeah, it could be sometimes, but I can choose whether I'm going to go into battle, which is where you get a lot of predominantly pagans, but there are others that are coming into it from what's called a spirituality sense of it, who will talk about doing battle all the time. And they will then convince others that they have to do battle as well. And it's simply not the case.
It's very, very tiring.
Yeah, incredibly tiring.
You wake up very tired.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's hard if you're going to do that, but it's your choice. You know, I'm not here to tell you what to do in the unseen world. That's entirely down to you. And when you see things coming up and you start to learn to translate them and see how you're figuring it out, because that's the whole thing, is you've got to start with that translation sheet. Now, it may well be that in 10 years' time, things that are on your translation sheet, you know, so if you see a white rose, it means X, Y, Z to you. But in 10 years' time, that white rose could mean something different to you or something more to you. And you then add that to your translation sheet. Yeah. You also will get in the future, once you practice with it, that you'll get, okay, your translation sheet goes out the window completely because you've got no frame of reference, you have no translation whatsoever. And that to me is far more unsettling, but it's good because it means I'm uncomfortable. And that means that I'm expanding, I'm moving, I'm growing, if you want, for want of better.
Yeah, well, that's where I tend to go. It's the uncomfortable areas.
Yeah.
I might need to write the first exciting Fluffy Kittens book to go to sleep with.
I'll sit and read it to you, Fraser.
Lovely.
Any other questions, guys?
Not a question, but sort of rewinding slightly. That thing that you've talked about before noon of before you go to sleep and in the morning sending your energy to your excess energy to something or someone or, you know, a thing or a person, whatever. I've found that really powerful, and I think seen results from it. And that's the same thing, isn't it? You're accessing an unseen area.
Your intention must be good though, Benji, for
that. Well, that's the key thing, isn't it? The intention being true, I suppose, good and true at the outset. But yeah, I've personally found that really powerful.
Brilliant.
It is that thing. So what Benji's talking about is that whenever you are, when you wake up in the morning, when you go to sleep at night, we don't create energy. Energy simply is we transform energy. We do that by transmuting, then transfiguring, then transforming. And that's really sort of a breakdown, but basically it's transforming. And what we do is we transform lots of energy throughout the day and lots of energy throughout the night. And what we don't do is we never get taught how to direct that. So what happens is it gets harvested, and that harvesting is massive, absolutely huge. And it's not like it's huge big machines somewhere up in the sky with big digger buckets and, you know, catching it all up. It's nothing like that. It is that they will then direct your energy to where they want it to go to. And that's where you start to learn that those who we call the dark side or dark entities or whatever actually come from us. So when we take that away from them, they have no energy. They can only get the energy from us and from all living beings. Now, trees naturally don't give it to them, right? So they're pretty clued up. You know, we think that they're static and they don't. And I'm listening to your stuff, Benji. It was great when you were talking about trees. It was brilliant. You know, here's the roots, and it's actually in the earth. And then there's this long bit, and then here's this canopy, and it stands still. But does it actually stand still? Because it's constantly transforming energy, but it doesn't allow its energy to be harvested. That's why humans have to use a chainsaw to take its energy. Now, that's a very visceral thing, and it's a very cruel thing as well. I'm not saying we shouldn't have wooden houses or anything like that. What I am saying is that we have to think about what we're doing and why we're doing it. But when we wake up in the morning and when we go to sleep at night and we say, okay, I want any excess energy that I have to go to the trees, the water, the air, the earth, or a certain person, or whatever you want, but direct it to someone or something that is going to be of benefit to all, they cannot harvest that. So you're taking that energy away, which means that those shadows become far less. They don't have the energy to do what they normally can do.
Can I ask, can you send the excess energy to someone for healing?
Yes, you can. And that's part of the key thing that's always made me laugh is we've never had it, and it's not actually in any text that I've found, and there's been a lot of ancient texts that I've gone through, because how they use it is up to them. Remember, you can direct it to them and say
They need to know that you're sending it?
you don't have to know it, because it's energy's free. So whenever you realize that energy is free, you can direct it, but how they choose to, whether they choose to accept it or not is one thing. And then how they choose to accept it and use it is up to them. So they may well, they may well bounce it onto somebody else. And there's nothing you can do about that. That's why we always, I tend to choose trees and water, unless there's something within my family or my friends, and I go, right, okay, now I can direct it. It's somebody we all know has recently come out of hospital, and I was directing a whole load of my energy towards him, and he had the quickest hospital stay for what he had. You know, he should have been in there for weeks on end, and he wasn't. So he accepted that, and then he utilized it the way that he needed to. So he transmuted the energy that I sent and directed to him and transformed it into what he needed to do.
Yeah, well, most people are surrounded by people every day, so all that energy is intermingling all day, every day anyway.
Yeah.
Did that person know? Did they feel it or know sort of anything that they sensed that you'd sent their energy?
I spoke to him today, and yes, he did, not in its entirety, but he did have an inkling. That's the thing about the unseen world, is you get inklings to begin with, but when you actually then go into it, you will find that it'll become more prominent and more prevalent. So you get a bit like a better image of it or a better feeling from it or whatever. But yeah, he did pick up on it, and yeah, he did the way that he needed to, which was absolutely perfect.
I know what happened when myself, Noon, Sarah, Caroline had met just not long back, and she was across the table, and I wasn't looking at her, I was talking to somebody else at the time, and I knew that she was doing something, because I turned round, you know, when I was waiting up, I turned round and she was staring right at me, and I was like, this is you, innit? This is you doing this? She's like, yeah.
When to talk like a bit of a hippie, when I do it, when I'm directing it towards a person, and there are a couple of people in my life who I do send healing to, I try and I don't necessarily imagine the person themselves. I try and think of their higher being, their you know, I try and think of it on an energetic level and not on thinking of the physical manifestation of that person.
Good.
Energy,
That's how I approach
vibration, and magnetism, basically.
Yeah, that's really good. That's excellent. If you can do that, that's absolutely brilliant, because then they can choose whichever way they want to have it, and it'll be more readily available for them as well. You know,
that's what it feels like. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. See, you're already doing it. Why are you here?
Because it's interesting.
Yeah, there's all sorts of questions come up whenever we're doing this sort of stuff, doesn't it?
Yeah, there's always more to learn and more to know.
Could anybody,
At the moment, I know we're live at the minute, but we're recording this. My clock has just said 20:35 for about the last 10 minutes.
Mine still is.
Yeah, so you're time slipping at the moment as well, which is great, isn't it? Love it.
Yeah, I just nipped back and saw the dinosaurs for a time there.
How are they doing?
Yeah, they're all dead.
Are they? Oh, are in it.
could anybody, if there were, you know, not any of us, because we're all good people, but anybody like who've got like evil intentions, could they send, like in the unseen world, could they send obviously bad negative energy directed at somebody?
What's always, Debbie?
Yeah, but what would happen? I mean, to that person that's receiving it, or would they not receive it? Would they be able to blank it?
If you some people have got a natural, not immunity, but a natural shield against that. So you find that a lot with children, and it shows up in children really, really quickly. As they grow older and they get indoctrinated into a lot of different things, the shield then drops, and then all sorts of things happen. If you look at people, and you'll know them in your own life, you know, they've got nothing but bad luck. Everything always goes wrong, but they're also allowing that stuff into them because they're not protecting themselves. They're not, you know, and the protection shield isn't a static thing of, I have to take down my shield to do something. You don't, you can still do everything that you normally do. It's just like the ready brek man. It's like around you, and you can still do all those things. But
yeah, it's like your app permissions on your phone. Give you permission to access this, but not that, you know.
So any young ones who are watching this on playback, there's an easy way of thinking about it. Is your app permission. I never even thought about that.
There you go.
Yeah,
frame of reference then.
Yeah. Yeah, I really don't get that sometimes. But yeah, Debbie, what you're saying is that when someone sends, and they've been sending this stuff out for millennia, they've been using it for millennia. When you allow it and when you give consent to it, that's what's coming in. When you stand there and you go, do you know what? No. So a lot of us who are in here in the live, we've all started standing there going, hang on, legal doesn't make sense. No, I don't give my consent. And look at how our lives have been changing. Being transformed.
Sorry, Chase has heard something.
So as it transforms, we then stand in our own truth, we stand in honor, and all of a sudden we start to feel more powerful. Now, the trick part of that one is don't let your ego get involved, because a lot of people start to do the thing of, I can do anything because I've learned this, that, and the next thing, and I stand in my own power and stuff like that. That's great, you know, and that's fine for them. But whenever you take it further than that and you say, okay, I'm standing in this place, I don't consent. It's only about you. That's all it is. And you just know that you don't want any harm or loss to come to you, and you want people to be truthful. But that means you also have to be truthful with yourself. So when you look in the mirror and you're not being truthful, we had one before we started with DJM, and they had said something to me earlier in the week, and it was the variables, the variants that I go through. And I went, okay, well, why am I going through those variants? So I actually stood in front of the mirror and I went, okay, Noon, you're going through different variables. It's basically the same thing happening in different ways, but why are you going through all those variables? And that's because of the type of person I am. I very quickly go down all sorts of different avenues and, you know, look at it and say, right, okay, well, how does that work with that? And how does that work with that? And I can do it incredibly quickly. But it shows you how many variables there are just on that one topic, that it's taken me this long to look back on it and then ask myself the good question of, why am I going back through it? And do I need to now go back through it at all? Or
It's
can I?
levels of acceptance.
Yeah, the other part of it is keeping yourself at a certain level. So if you want to take it this way, I've spent most of my life, you know, people being 2 years behind at least. You know, a lot of people are far further behind, but there's been a 2-year sort of slip. And I used to get really frustrated about it. And it was like, for goodness sake, just catch up, because then I can move forward. So that thing about keeping yourself back is so that everybody else can catch up. So once they catch up, then you can all spring back board forward at whatever, you know, rate or wherever you want to go. It's entirely up to you. But I'm not blaming anybody for it. But if I go too far too fast, then it poses a problem for others, because they won't come into your sphere. You know, you lose everybody around you, which you guys in here, you've all had it in some way, where you've, through this hoo-ha that's been going on, because we're recording at the moment, by the way, in 2022 in January, you've lost friends, you've lost family members, you know, that you just don't want to be around anymore, or they don't want to be around you. They've just dropped out. Some of them are coming back in again. But this is the thing, is the same thing happens when you are exploring yourself and you're adventuring within yourself and you're traveling in the unseen world. Because when you do that, people find it very difficult to keep up with you. I know a lot of people, nearly everybody in this room speaks quickly. And I know quite a few people that find that difficult. They find it difficult to keep up with what we are saying. But we go at a vast rate of knots because we're able to integrate whatever comes through very quickly into ourselves. Now, to us, it might seem of like, oh God, I was still working on this last week. Why am I working on it now? Why can I not get the hang of it? But that week to somebody else is a year. So we have to be, you know, I try to be careful and gentle, but I also now have realized I won't let anybody hold me back. So I will constantly springboard myself forward, because that's part of what I'm here to do. And that's part of what you guys are here to do as well. How fabulous are you? Look at what you can do.
Plus, you're not responsible for anybody else either.
No.
You've also been very good at laying down the stepping stones as well, meeting people where they're at. In fairness, haven't you? You've kind of, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I love that retro engineering things. It's great whenever somebody asks you a question, how do you do that? And then I go, I don't know. And I have to then retro engineer it and go, well, it starts off with, you know, and so I'm
Where
having
people are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I've been on one stepping stone before, and she's like, it's just there, the next one. You push and it's splash. You're like, oh, thank you. Back up.
You get there though, don't you, Fraser?
Yeah.
So DGM and Sally, have you got any questions? They're all really quiet.
It's just focusing. I find it difficult to focus on, everything seems to come at once.
Yeah.
And I don't quite know where I'm going. I go off in tangents, I go off down one road and down another, and rabbit hole after rabbit hole, and
right,
you know,
Ruth,
it's
trying to filter it through.
Yeah, the first thing is how's your nervous system?
They're not great.
Yeah, you'll find if your nervous system is raw, and we know that through chemical toxification and stuff that's happening on a physical level. If your nervous system is not holding you, that's great, Sally. Sally's just said she's fine. If your nervous system is not holding you particularly well, so it's a bit raw and abrased sort of thing, it's been abrasive sort of thing, or something's abraded it, then you'll find it difficult to hold your focus on one thing. So that is the thing of finding that peace and calm within yourself. Now, it might be go and take a bath with candles round about it. It might be go and put your feet in some water, or walk on a lawn somewhere, or whatever it is that you need to do. And for however long you need to do it. Don't sit there and go, I'm going to do this for 20 minutes, then everything will be fine. You do it for as long as you need to do it. Now, I know that's difficult when you're fitting in with work and life and everything else, but the whole point is you are the most important being. So everything comes from you and it ends with you. So if you don't look after yourself, then who's going to look after you? It's as simple as that. So gaining that focus is, okay, I'm doing this for myself. And then you'll find that you can actually then track, because I know you, Rosie, and I know you're actually very good at picking up on a lot of things. And like you said, it all comes through jumbled up, you know, and then you find it difficult to relay that to other people, because you found a thread through it, but then to translate that so that other people can have some sort of understanding of it is a bit difficult, you know. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's
no, definitely.
Yeah. So whenever that happens, is first things first is yourself. look after yourself. And
I
if
was
that,
just going to say that. Sorry for interrupting. I was just going to say, Rose, you place a lot of attention on others before you,
Right.
because I kind of recognise the eyes. Yeah.
It gets me very far. That's the problem.
but this is the thing, it's not about being far, it's about being within you to start with. And when you're within you, you will then be able to focus without distraction. And then you'll start to see really, really clearly these things. The other thing is don't ever think, I mean, whenever I'm talking about these things, I always say, there are other people out here that do what I do, that have got YouTube videos up, go watch them. If I don't resonate with you, absolutely go watch them. They may well resonate with you as well. What we forget is the information, because it's just information that we get through. Other people have either already got it, or they're halfway there. And a lot of people who get information through, they'll try and tell somebody else how it is. But remember, it's gone through their translation. So it might not be exactly that way. You know,
Well, this is how you do it.
Yeah.
This is the way.
Yeah. And this is the only way. I love that one. This is the only way. Yeah. And I sit there and I go, no, it's not. So, but yeah, that's the main thing. For you, Rosie, it is literally look after yourself, because you have been incredibly bad at doing that, and you need to, because you're worth it. You are worth it, definitely. You know what you have got.
Here's your neighbour.
Yeah.
I'm your neighbour.
What you've got to bring, and what you have brought within you is incredible, absolutely incredible. So, you know, if you place your attention on yourself and do that, imagine how many other people you'd be of benefit to, because then it's of benefit to all. That's the key part to it, is we are, by working on ourselves, we are automatically of benefit to all. So, and we don't do it from a selfish standpoint. It may look like a selfish standpoint whenever you turn around to your family members and go, no, I'm having the day to myself, leave me alone, bugger off, you know, and all that sort of thing.
Or in other terms.
Well, yeah. But see, I don't see that as a swear word at all. It's just like, I think because I use it. But yeah, whenever, you know, mum didn't want to see me today because she's doing something for herself. That's their problem, not yours. You have got
to feel it yourself. When you'll know it. You'll know it when it's there. Yeah. When you've paid enough attention to yourself. I mean, then it can go beyond to others, you know.
Yeah, I have days where I don't answer the audios that I get through as questions from people. And I mean, and bear in mind, I spend probably about half the day answering audios most days. And then I have a day where I go, do you know what? No. And my phone goes on the side and I just do what I need to do for me. That's it. Nobody else. I don't do anything for anybody else. I just do it for me. And I have one day of the year that is just purely mine. It's the one static day of the year. And that's my breath day, you know, the day that I first took breath. And that's it. That's the, you know, I don't have a party or anything like that. I just purely go and do what I want to do.
Others will know that as birthday.
Yeah.
Clearing that up.
We don't want to be birthed.
It's both. It's both, Fraser. Breath and birth.
Yeah.
I was listening to, sorry if I'm jutting in here, of Rupert's Sheldrake talk earlier on about morphic resonance, and you know, the theory that a species can learn something and it might be difficult the first time, but then any member of that species can then learn it more quickly, and the more times it's done, whoever's doing it, they learn quickly because it's going into the field, and the things are picking up on the field. So just talking about people working on themselves and you know, self reflection and shadow work, or whatever one might want to call it, can only be
shadow
helping.
work is reflection, Benji, anyway.
Sorry?
Shadow work is reflection.
Yeah. It can only go into the field for humanity.
Yeah. And then it's a question of whether they want to pick up on it or not.
Yeah.
You know, it's always a choice, and it's their choice. And that's kind of where I got to with this sort of like who has stuff, was it's their choice. You know, we're not here to, and we don't know what's going on. We don't know what they've decided before they came here, you know, because they're not in connection with themselves that much. So we can't get the answers from them. We just have to kind of accept it, that that's their choice, you know, and that's okay.
And there would never have been emphasis on it anyway if it hadn't have been shoved in your face 24/7, if you watch the news and whatever else.
Yeah.
That's the only reason people, you know, because it would never have been.
That's it. DGM, did you have a question? If they're there.
Dun, dun, dun.
You. There we go.
No, it's all good.
It's all good. That's what I like to hear. Fantastic. Right.
Brilliant, job done.
Guys, we've gone on for, I think, long enough now, so I'm going to stop the recording. So thank you very much for listening to everybody. Thank you incredibly so much to everybody who's been here live. Absolutely brilliant, the questions that you've come up with, and fantastic how you're doing things and doing it your own way as well. And the questions that you brought up were brilliant. And I'm sure that people who are listening to this on playback will go, I had exactly the same question. And that's great. You've helped so many people. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for listening and for being with us, and many bright blessings. And we'll see you soon.